2016-2017 season was the last time Manchester United won a European competition. 2012-2013 season was the last time they won the Premier League. They've won FA Cups, they've won Carabao Cups since then, but nothing's been back to the old Manchester United that everyone grew up knowing. Today for Friday Flair, we are going to go through the 99 reasons why Manchester United still are struggling. Let's go ahead, let's get right into it. There's going to be a counter here in the top left-hand side of your screen, keeping track of where we are on our 99 reasons why Manchester United are yet to be back to glory. Starting off with number one, we've got the Glazers. The most obvious one where things are going wrong is a lot to do with the Glazers and kind of what they did, trying to monetize the club without building it as a footballing project. The second thing is going to be poorly appointed captains, whether it's Maguire, whether it's Bruno Fernandes, whether it's anybody else in between. Since that last Europa League win under Mourinho, it's kind of all been a disaster from top to bottom, especially in the captaining department for Manchester United. No true leaders on or off the pitch. Up next is going to be the legacy of Ed Woodward. He's kind of, he's obviously left the club and he's left a mess for the new ownership, for the new people taking his position, for the new managers, so on and so forth. It's just been a disaster from Ed Woodward's perspective. Now we're going to move along to a few player type things. First of all, the signing of Manuel Ugarte. That's another defensive midfielder who cannot progress the ball. I don't understand the philosophy there, but again, 50 million for a player that can't progress the ball. Xerxes and Højlund both are not goal scorers. Mason Mount, what is that signing? So that's number 7 on our list. Moving along to number 8, the Jadon Sancho signing. Number 9 is the Mason Greenwood situation. You never even get linked to Jadon Sancho. You never even need to sign him if Mason Greenwood doesn't end up a disaster. And then we move along to number 10, again, because now Jadon Sancho's failed, because you didn't get the profile of player you needed. Antony's been signed, and he's been a failure. So now we're at number 11, which brings us now to our center backs, which because Harry Maguire failed, Lisandro Martinez signing is a bad signing because he's just not fit for the Premier League. He tries to play this aggressive, tough guy look, and it just makes him kind of a joke of a player because he's not serious, and he's not the type of player that they need. And that moves me along to number 12. The obsession with Ajax players currently is prevalent in that Manchester United squad. You've got Eriksen, you've got Martinez, you got Antony. I'm pretty sure you could go back and find, obviously, other Eredivisie players. Malacia's played in the Eredivisie. De Ligt played for Ajax. Onana's played for Ajax. Donny van de Beek was there and he played for Ajax. It's so on and so forth. It just isn't a good look when your transfer strategy is buy the young guys from Ajax. It's just not a very good look. Moving along to number 13, not properly replacing Luke Shaw. He's injury prone. He's been there since I think 2014. He was a part of that Europa League winning squad. Maybe the only one of the very few players left from that squad. I know Marcus Rashford as well as another one from that squad. Now moving along to number 14, we've got appointing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Why did that sign? That didn't make sense in the first place. He was an interim manager, and you didn't go out and sign a serious manager. You went and just signed the guy who, this guy is a club legend. He did well for those few interim games. He beat PSG, made a comeback off of Marcus Rashford. And now moving along to 15, they re-signed Ronaldo. That was a bad signing. Buying Pogba back. I know that was many, many years ago. Still a bad signing. There's just been zero transfer strategy. Let's talk about transfer strategy. Going into number 18, Anthony Martial for 60 million. Very next year, Zlatan Ibrahimovic on a free. Oh, year after that, 84 million on Lukaku. All right, let's talk about right backs. Dalot, they signed him from Portugal. Very next year, they go and sign Aaron Wan-Bissaka from Crystal Palace. Appointing Erik ten Hag, again, not a good signing because they don't fit the mold of how Manchester United want to play. What is the Manchester United way? We're trying to figure that out. I'm trying to figure that out as I made this video. Casemiro signing, another thing where they're signing players that just can't progress the ball in midfield. They can't do the one-touch passing that it seems like is Erik ten Hag's system. Can't do that. So what are they doing in the future to build the mold of players that they need? Okay, Ugarte, as I mentioned, already doesn't fit that mold of what it feels like with the one-touch passing that I mentioned. Is he going to be able to progress the ball for United? I don't think so. Now moving along, Old Trafford upgrades bring us into number 25. The stadium just looks poor. It just isn't good. Old Trafford is a disaster currently. It looks like a complete mess. And until upgrades are made, it's going to continue to be an issue for Manchester United. The club vision, what are they trying to accomplish? Are they just trying to bring in money? Are they trying to win games? What is the vision of this club? The facilities, you've heard plenty of from Ronaldo and just kind of news outlets about how the training ground has yet to be upgraded. Obviously, there's rumors about things being done there. The club values. What is, again, this brings me back to the vision. What is the values of the club? What does Manchester United stand for? And then lastly, the branding. Nothing's been done for the branding of Manchester United. Nothing's changed about what we know about Manchester United since forever. It feels like they haven't gotten a new stadium. They've not done anything to their, kits. It doesn't feel like their kit branding has been on par with what they need. Nothing about the Manchester United brand has been impressive over the last few years. Now we've got to talk about leadership for the next three. The lack of leadership from the squad has been an issue. I've already kind of hit on it with the captains, but just overall leadership has been poor in the squad. Marcus Rashford's not a leader. Bruno Fernandes isn't a leader. Matthijs de Ligt is just arrived. Onana just arrived recently last year. A lot of those veteran players aren't leaders. And so that's the problem you got to look at. Probably one of the hardest workers, we'll talk about him later, but is gone now. Lack of leadership from ownership. We're trying to see, nothing's been said from the owners. Nothing comes from the owners. It doesn't feel like there's ever a leader there. And then lastly, the lack of leadership from the coaching staff. What is going on there? It doesn't feel like Erik ten Hag has really taken a leadership role in that club. It doesn't feel like he's really taken the reins. He just wants to manage games, it feels like. It doesn't seem like he's an actual leader to this team, to this club, and that's why I don't think he's been a good fit at Manchester United thus far. Moving along, poor recruiting. Clearly, I've already hit on it, but just overall, poor recruitment, poor scouting of players. What is the profile? Poor transfer model. They're outbidding themselves most of the time, and that's just the issue there. And then lastly, poor wage structure. What is going on? Casemiro's on like 350,000 pounds a week. It's absurd. It's an insane amount of money that Casemiro is being paid, for example. And there's another players that are around that 300,000 mark. It's just they're paying players unbelievable amounts of money. And then you're going to have somebody come in who's better than Casemiro, and they're going to be like, why am I not being paid this much? Well, it's difficult to, rationalize that as ownership. Up next, you've got team's ability with the ball. Team's ability without the ball puts you at number 37. Not signing world-class players. They try to sign players that are too old to be world-class anymore. Casemiro, Ronaldo, Alexis Sanchez when they signed him, Zlatan Ibrahimovic when they signed him. Players that are no longer at that world-class range where they're just kind of fading out of their career. Is it a retirement home at Old Trafford? Is that why it's not been structured? It gives them old memories being in such an old structure? I don't know. But again, it just needs to be changed. And then, as I mentioned, kind of hit on earlier, bidding against themselves. The Ajax transfer for Antony, nobody else wanted Antony. They were just bidding against themselves. If they just stopped and said, you know what, never mind, we'll come back next year. They already had Jadon Sancho. They already had Amad Diallo. They already had Alejandro Garnacho in their, obviously, in their youth setup. Coming in at number 40, Old Trafford has become a comfort zone. Manchester United is comfortable to be at. Players like Luke Shaw. Players like, let's go ahead and talk about it. 41, Luke Shaw still there. 42, Maguire still there. 43, Lindelof still there. 44, Phil Jones has only just left because he retired. 45, still employs Johnny Evans. 46, still employs Tyrell Malacia, so on and so forth. I could go on and on and on. David De Gea probably overstayed his welcome. There's probably plenty of other players that I listed that have overstayed their welcome at Manchester United. Moving along, during the 22-23 campaign, they signed plenty of players. But they did not sign a world-class striker or goalkeeper during the 22-23 season. Instead, they loaned in Weghorst, which is number 48 on our list. And number 49, they loaned into Martin Dubravka during the 22-23 season. Now we're moving on to number 50, which is 152 million euros that summer of 22-23 on Antony and Lisandro Martinez. 152 million euros. That is an insane fee to pay for two players that are not the quality of Manchester United, do not fit any sort of profile, and are not good enough to play at Old Trafford. Number 51, we've got Sabitzer. Honestly, until I was doing research for this video, I totally forgot Sabitzer even played for Manchester United. So he was a failure while he was there. 52, they even signed Reguilon on loan. this will not replace Luke Shaw and the quality that he brought when he was healthy in early stages of his career at United. They signed Amrabat on loan at the back of the World Cup for number 53. 54, 660 million euros spent in 3 years. And I cannot tell you one player on that list that is world class. Not a single one. Not a single player I would put on that list as world class. I wouldn't. The closest I will tell you is De Ligt. That's the closest, and I still don't think he's the quality. This past summer, we saw them sell Scott McTominay. Their hardest working midfielder is now out of the club, is not welcome at Old Trafford anymore. I obviously think maybe he's another one that I would have said overstayed his welcome had he stayed. But again, hardest working midfielder in that club, biggest engine in the club is gone. Moving along, Alex Tedla is signing. Fred signing. How the Dean Henderson situation was handled. He looked like he was a shoo-in to take the reins from David De Gea. He looked like he had the confidence, he had the stature, he had everything that he needed, and now we see him performing at his new club. Obviously, we know Henderson's at Crystal Palace now doing wonderful, great things, but again, just a poor bit of business from Manchester United. Number 59, during a single summer, they've lost James Garner, Andrea Pereira, Jesse Lingard, Nemanja Matic, Paul Pogba, and Juan Mata, all in one summer, and you know how much they made? 19 million euros from those departures. And then we move along to other things, issues at the club, just strict cultural issues at Manchester United. Chris Smalling being a scapegoat for the club for so many years. Harry Maguire being a scapegoat for so many years. Scott McTominay being a scapegoat for so many years. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've talked about a few things. Jim Ratcliffe will be bad for Manchester United, and that is my 63rd position. Sir Jim Ratcliffe will not be good for Manchester United. 64, he is throwing money. He is continuing to do what other owners have done, the Glazers have done. They throw money at the problems and not the project. And that is the issue at Manchester United. If we were to sum all 99 issues into one thing, it would be problem over project is what Manchester United's philosophy. There's been a total lack of a proper rebuild under Manchester United. It looked like they were on the right track. They brought in Erik ten Hag. They brought in younger players. But nothing's changed. Nothing really has changed at the root of Manchester United. There's still no plan in place. There's no project in place. And part of talking about that project is every single manager that has been appointed since Fergie has left has a different style. David Moyes, Mourinho, Van Gaal, Rangnick, Oli, Erik ten Hag, all of the list goes on and on and on. And none of these managers are the same style. And that's the issue right now at Manchester United. There's no Manchester United way of playing. The other issue leading into that different style conversation is none of the players that they sign help the new managers, because De Ligt may not fit for a new manager. If they were to go get a new manager, would half the players in that squad still need to be there? Would Mazraoui fit? He just got signed. Would Ugarte fit? Would Ugarte get minutes if Luis Enrique came in? No, he wouldn't, because he didn't get minutes for him at PSG. Again, this brings me back to kind of an issue I've been talking about for number 68. No profile of players. No, there's no profile at Manchester United. It's just sign flashy names, get fans hyped, get fans excited, and then disappoint them during the season. They think it's going to come off, I guess, at some point. I don't know if this is making them money at this rate. I just feel like failure after failure for Manchester United in their standards. And I understand they've won trophies in back-to-back seasons, but for Manchester United standards, you should be competing for Premier Leagues. You should be competing in the Champions League every year and competing for that. And they just have not done so for over a decade at this point. The last time Manchester United won a Champions League was in 07-08. That's almost 20 years ago. And of course, issue number 69, they did not listen to Rangnick. He told them exactly what to do. He told them the club needed open heart surgery. That is his words, not mine. And that is the issue, is they have not listened to him. Under Erik ten Hag, there's still a lack of a clear tactical identity. And then you look at issue number 71, inconsistent performances from key players. Even when they sign these players that look like they're going to be really, really good and are very, very good, in Bruno Fernandes, they have Marcus Rashford, obviously, who came through their academy, so on and so forth. But their performances are just inconsistent. There's no balance in their midfield. They've dealt with injuries over the years. And then, of course, the over-relying of these key players like Bruno Fernandes in key moments. Why are other players not able to step up? They had players in the past like an Ollie who was comfortable sitting on the bench, but when he came on, you knew he was going to make an impact. You know you could rely on him to come off the bench and make an impact. And those players don't exist at Manchester United right now. The other issue is there's no consistent goal scorers at Manchester United that they can rely on. There's Xerxes, there's Højlund. We've already talked about them being poor signings, but again, they cannot score. And then looking again at the next step number 76, there's just a total lack of accountability at the club. I feel I don't want to just keep, like, obviously the video is me going in on all the issues at Manchester United, but you have to ask yourself, when are these issues going to get solved? And these issues are issues that have been there for ages. So if you feel like I'm just attacking United for the sake of it, I'm just pointing out what feels obvious, and there's 99 problems that I'm able to come up with just in a maybe 30-40 minutes of brainstorming this video. Up next, we've got the mental fragility of this squad. When you saw them against Tottenham this past week, they looked defeated after the red card. They looked defeated the entire match, honestly. They lost that match 3-0. It could have been 6-7, 8-0 at the rate they were playing. At Old Trafford, they lost 3-0 to Spurs playing with 10 men, and they looked bad doing it. They looked worse than a 3-0 defeat. Really, really poor showing for Manchester United. Part of that, talking about their mental fragility, is also number 78. Their lack and failure to press effectively. They are not able to press their opponents in an effective manner, which is just causing them issues. Moving along to number 79, these poor pressing, the poor moments in the game, all comes from poor decision making. And moving along to number 80, have they ever done anything in set pieces? I have not seen Manchester United score from a set piece. I've seen failures, I've seen blunders from set pieces defensively, but it is very, very poor. And then 81, bringing in Ruud van Nistelrooy, a United legend, to sit there on the bench next to Erik ten Hag is just going to apply pressure to him. Obviously, Van Nistelrooy has had management opportunities in the past, and it looks like bringing him in as an assistant to Erik ten Hag could lead to the Dutchman's exit for a fellow Dutchman in Van Nistelrooy. United have struggled breaking down defensive setups. Obviously, I've talked about the style of play from United under Erik ten Hag in previous videos, and then the struggling in these moments, the poor decision making, it all overwhelms into a total lack of confidence in the team. Then they also, lack of confidence, failure to press, all these things. That's an issue of controlling the tempo of the match. They're not able to control tempo against opponents. There's a lack of chemistry in the attack. Wingers want to score. They don't want to create for their strikers who need the ball, who need the service. Højlund last year, we talked about how few chances he had, how few touches he had because of how poor the chemistry in that team is. They've got two different striker profiles now. What is their striker supposed to do in Xerxes versus Højlund? What are they looking for, really, is what Manchester United need to figure out. As I, have kind of alluded to, tactics don't suit players for number 86, and 87 is me giving an example. Goal-scoring wingers not being put in position to score. What is going on there? It feels like Garnacho and Rashford, they have to do wonderful, completely miraculous things to score. They need to be able to create and provide for one another on opposite wings, getting the ball across the field, rather than just trying to one touch their way up the field. They need to be able to put pressure on from side to side, lateral as well. The pressure put on signings has become a complete other issue for Manchester United, as well as just to kind of hit on another tactical thing, their set piece defending. Young players at Manchester United are yet to receive proper development and support. We see them signing these. I saw quite a few, actually, Manchester United signing youth players. They obviously signed a youth striker from Arsenal, and it just feels like, is he going to receive the proper development and support that he needs? We see players at other clubs receiving the nurturing that they need. Ethan Nwaneri, Chelsea, even though they let go a lot of their academy players, they do provide a platform and develop these players. Another issue is failing to manage games. Even when in a lead, they look like they struggle to maintain leads, maintain control of matches. It's become a common trend under Erik ten Hag. And then, of course, Erik ten Hag for 93, tactical flexibility has been poor from him. He hasn't really shown any ability to for a plan B. I haven't seen a plan B. I haven't seen a plan C. I barely see a plan A from him. Manchester United overall, again, lackadaisical when it comes to winning the second ball. It just looks really, really poor when in the midfield, in the attack. When they send balls forward from Onana, they win the first header, and then they don't do anything with the second ball. And even if they lose the first header, again, they're not applying any pressure to win the second ball. Sorry for the issue on my end. Number 95 is just the body language from key players overall. I think it's been poor body language overall from key players at Manchester United that have led to some issues on their end. In transition, there just feels to be a lack of urgency for number 96. And in 97, there is just clear defensive miscommunication. Number 98, I'm going to put as the pressure coming from outside. That includes ownership, that includes fans, that includes media, that includes everything that is around Manchester United. That pressure that comes from them has become a complete issue at the club and has led to some of the toxicity we see around Manchester United and around Old Trafford. And lastly, number 99, it's warranted. It's warranted, that pressure that comes from the media, that comes from fans, that comes from opposing fans, and the expectations around Manchester United when you have moments like Erik ten Hag's quotes to the media where he seems to have this just elevated ego about himself that isn't extremely warranted. The same goes for a manager like Ange Postecoglou. For whatever reason, the media love Ange. They don't love Erik ten Hag for whatever that reason is. And, if you want to say it's anti-United bias, whatever you want to call it, but, that's a part of the reason Manchester United have struggled is because of that outside influences, as well as just quotes like what Erik ten Hag says about things like eras come to an end, moments like that where he just says things that don't need to be said. Just put your head down, get the work done. And that would bring Manchester United back to a successful place. That's all 99 problems from me. But if you got one, let me know in the comment section down below. And I'd love to have a dialogue down there about some of those issues. Obviously, some of them go hand in hand. Some of them kind of connect to each other. But if we're going to talk about 99 problems, we got to get very specific with a lot of these issues at Manchester United. It can be any club, suggest it in the comment section down below. And if you want to see more from me, hit that subscribe button down below. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.